Alright, well, this song, I wanted to bring in, like, I wanted to bring in a small history section where it's mostly the craziest part of our history that happened during around the 60s and the 70s, up until the 80s. You wanna know what it is?
What is it? Shoot.
Have you ever heard of the term years of lead?
No, I've not
Well,
heard of that.
it's basically around a certain decade here in Italy where where radicals from both sides went fucking ape shit and decided to go full terrorist on everyone because they wanted this right here right now, both fascists and communists.
Hmm.
Both like both did incredible damage that maybe I should just sit down and talk to you what they did. The fascists, of course, wanted to go back to the good old days where Mussolini was in charge and hanging off his feet.
Jesus.
Yep, they're basically neo-fascists who wanted to go back to the good old days. And then on the other side, you had basically the followers of the old partisans. I'm saying that with big quotes. You know about the partisans,
Oh
right?
yeah. Right. Yeah, the partisans. Right.
Basically socialists who fought off against the Nazis, which is kind of ironic since they're both socialists.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, anyway, this both went that first the fascists were the guys who were constantly acting up during the 50s and 60s, but when the 60s especially, they started to really go ape shit on everything. Like they constantly were pouring sand on train tracks to make trains derail. They constantly were planning bombs, uh, going out for shooting or assassinations. The big one, the big one was a bombing at a train station in peak time, like 12 o'clock.
Jeez.
Oh, yep. I hold on. Let me grab my book. Like, I know it's precisely recording there. Just give me a second. I'll be right there.
All right.
Paper slipping out of the book. Okay, no. Totalitarianism. Good old N words. I'm saying Nazis, not whatever you're thinking, you absolute yeah. Okay, should be around. Who is this man? I think it's good old Thompson. Ah, General MacArthur. That's who it is. I don't know what he did. Yeah, it was in Korea. Korea was a good time. You know, that good old mugshot of Kenny with a Carcano rifle. Race, race for the moon. Expensive. Ooh, yeah, the Great Leap Forward. The decolonization. Nope. Good old Nam. Ah, also here's something that probably would not fly well today. A complete history about 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 the Israeli Palestine question. Basically, this book it gives you a complete there's a few things about uh, basically a kind of semi roundup history about how Israel came to be. during this time in 47, and how Palestine, kind of got mad because, you know, these guys just showed up at their door and say, this land is ours now, get out. And then, you know how it went, the 6 Day War,
Yeah.
the Yom Kippur War,
Yep.
all that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. And now it's also going over there, and Hamas going full kamikaze on them. The crumbling of communism, and a nice picture of the brave Mujahideen fighters. Truly brave, helping us against the greater enemy. They won't go and bite us in the ass.
Yep.
Oh look, a nice cute picture of Reactor 4 after a cute blowout. What am I saying? There was no blowout because, Soviet reactors don't explode. And the Soviet Union doesn't fuck up.
He's delusional.
So you didn't see the graphite.
You didn't see the graphite.
Didn't! Because it's not there!
Oh god, that main series is so good.
I have to watch it eventually in its entirety. Now you gotta send me some links for that.
Oh, yeah, soon.
Yeah, that series is just too fucking good, but I'm not... Oh dear! Oh my! I think... Oh no! Oh dear! Oh no! It's that picture! It's that terrible picture that is definitely fake, that is going against against the great Chinese institution. You know what picture I'm referring to, because it's right now in front of me in the book.
Oh dang it.
It's the one at that square that never happened.
Tiananmen Square. Sorry, I was blanking on that for a solid minute.
Yep, Tiananmen. They won't make these books like they used to do. Hopefully, I don't know. And here we are at the Italian side. The 68. Where basically all the hippies were going rioting because of the fucking Nam War. 68 was really something here because everybody was going with more socialist thinking, and the hippies not wanting war. And then there was the various kinds of terrorism that went in here during around the 60s and the 80s, or basically until 1980, because this was the period of the years of lead between the two parts of the black terrorism and the red terrorism. With the black one, it was of course the fascists who wanted a government of strong right, going back to the good old days, and they basically want to go back to a dictature, and fascists, and yep. They also have action squad of fascists going around who had German flags. German flags in Italy. Sure, that's nice. And of course they just go around and killing civilians because they want people to be scared and vote them back. And the big one was at Piazza Fontana, which was in Milan. They placed a bomb. It was mostly in a bank, and killed 16 people with tens of wounded. And then the big one in 1980 at Bologna station, 85 dead and 218 wounded. Like, they killed a ton of people just because they wanted to go back to those good old days. And then there were the Reds, who mostly worked around the 70s, mostly kidnapping and assassinating basically high-ranking people between magistrates, politicians, police functionaries, journalists, and syndicalists. the people that a lot of socialists would find problematic that are not responding to their message.
Dang.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
And these guys were really just going for those kinds of assassination. And most of those guys were not even of of the right, who aspired to dictate to even going back to a dictature or any sort of regime. Guess who they killed? The guys who were mostly who they were focusing on democracy, because on their reasoning they wanted to show the proletarian that that their worst enemies were those who were more open to reforms. You know, because the more reforms you have, the less you're willing to have a revolution. Because with these reforms, people are more open to change, but they need to have a stable environment so they could actually have a real revolution. The one good old Marx wanted to write down in his red book. It's this sort of commie tactic they had to do. And then came the big boys who came to know themselves as the big red ones, the Brigate Rosse, basically the Red Brigades. And their big shots were basically, in 1974 when they kidnapped a judge, Mario Rossi. And then they hit it really big in 1978. Guess who they kidnapped? They kidnapped a big one. Like, think a big charge of the government.
Oh, so did they kidnap the president or someone else?
The Prime Minister.
Ah.
The Prime Minister, they kidnap him, which they also just killed his entire, they killed his, the guys who were escorting him. They killed all their escorts, and then after a long jail time, they killed him and dumped his body into his car. And Moro was the president of the Democratic Christians, which in those years had worked with the PCI, which the PCI was definitely more on the lefty wing, more more on the socialist side, just to form a government of national solidarity against the terrorism. And he was kidnapped the same morning that he was basically supposed to leave his place as the prime minister. So theoretically, they killed this sitting prime minister because he didn't go to the ceremony where he should have given away his right. Hold on, someone's calling me.
Okay. Dang. Our control, we're talking about the Italian years of lead, pretty much. I guess Italy had its own version of the Troubles, I guess.
Pardon, my mother was ordering something online. So anyway, yeah, they killed the prime minister right then and there. They kidnapped him, then after a long imprisoning, killed him. That was enough. That just sent the fucking cops out to look for them and just doing everything to make sure this didn't happen again. So if you're wondering why we never had any terrorist attack here in Italy, like ever, this is why. We have we have the cops who can sniff out any sort of this thing by a mile, and it's still going on. We still have both commies and fascist groups still running around, even those who are shooting for the parliament and government. Like, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we still definitely have like actual commies running parties, like the actual Communist Party or Socialist. Like where I live in this bumfuck town, they had an actual they still have a basically a place with their banner flying up and proud with the red rose and the red flag. And not to account, my grandpa was a fucking socialist, communist, whatever. You know,
Dang.
my grandpa was. My grandpa was. Maybe because I don't know much exactly, because sometimes he just gets kind of rambly. But yeah, he was. And sometimes he just talks about the Red Star, something.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess he doesn't care about that much anymore. I'm pretty sure he was just, I guess, thrifting for them because he expected free shit. You know, he was a poor man, like poor.
Right.
He couldn't like we couldn't provide for most of our families, and most important, like he couldn't get clothes for most of them. Mom had to walk with rags and barefooted. He had he had to buy, or like the meat they had to buy were basically the most scrap shit you could think of. Organs, fucking animal organs, bladders, stomachs. Basically the worst thing, but still edible.
Hmm.
That's also one of the reasons why mom really doesn't like meat that much. Mostly because every time she opened the fridge, it was basically a a it was basically just a modern gore movie. Just organs everywhere, and one time a goat's head.
Oof.
Yeah, goat's head. Grandpa would just bring chickens, would just bring live chickens home and just kill them right then and there.
Hmm.
And then they had to eat everything of the chicken,
Right.
everything,
Right.
not just the thighs, wings,
You
chicken
can't let
breasts,
any of
and
that go to
everything.
waste. Yeah, America's depression. Yeah. I have
Yeah,
family.
because before the 70s, this place was it basically almost had nothing because we didn't had any way to make money except work the earth, grab some fish, work be a farmer, keep up animals, or like Grandpa did, be a carpenter, you know, be a mason, be a carpenter, a mason, basically just basically salt of the earth shit. Then this kind came along during the 70s, and they started to do some. They started to work the more touristic side, mostly the summer side. We have great beaches, we have great beaches, great shorelines, great places to just lay back, have a nice dinner, have a good day. You know, the kind of summer resort that you'd want to spend your time there. The one that really makes your money's worth.
Hmm.
And then things just kind of kept rolling on from there. One of my school friends actually did an entire research of him, and it was theorized he was killed off by big oil. Like, I remember the name of this guy, but he made some big investments here. He wanted to also do some fracking in the middle of the ocean to find actual oil, for Italy to be self-sustaining, like not constantly rely on Germany, Russia, and any other places. So it was theorized that probably they planted a bomb on his plane and just decided to fuck him up, to just pull a Kennedy on him. You know,
Mm.
blow him up, fuck him, no more competition, because, that was back in the 70s, 80s. Nobody would care. The internet wasn't really there, so they could just spin whatever narrative they want and be done with it. That kind of corpo shit.
Right, I see.
Yep, things got really wild around here. Really wild. And then there was the Mafia. The Mafia. Oh, you've heard about the Mafia, what it done here.
Yep.
Of course, the many famous cases of either police, uh, either police commandant or lieutenants, basically trying to get a bit more in deep and trying to get up to uncover the whole ring of what the mafia could do. Then one day, either they had a bomb under their car or a guy just came up and pull out and just killed them, put one between his eyes, or drive by shooting them. Like there's also the tale of basically a father, a church father who was in Sicily and noticed how the kids just constantly complied with whatever the guys from the mafia said, and how this was the life, this was the thing they had to do, this is what I make a big shot, you know, be a real man of the boss, or hell, one day become the boss itself. Everyone would love you, respect you. Father did not see that because they fear you. Because you see them, thugs. You don't respect what they say, you're gone. You're not even a part of the community anymore. You'd be isolated. He didn't want this, so of course he was trying to get them away from this life before it even begun. Like, there was also a kid who basically just wanted a motorbike because it was cool. Then with helping the mafia, he got him a motorbike, but still couldn't shake off what he did get it. He had sinned. For this, he'd done terrible things. Like, he placed a bomb in front of someone's shop during the night. It's a common occurrence that happens here, just to send a message.
Wow.
Eventually near the end of the movie, because it was searched for mafioso affiliations and one of the things they did. I remember that movie. They lived near a train track, and he finally received that motocross bike. The motorbike for crossing. The dirt bike. Dirt bike, that's what it's called. He killed himself because he couldn't live for what he'd done. An 18-year-old boy, because this started to reason what he was doing. And then, of course, the father, he wasn't, Don wasn't really scared of them, of what they were doing, because they saw him sway the youth more on the side of righteousness and, not being complete fucking thugs. So, they tried to bribe him, they torched his car, they said a lot of threats to him. Kept standing, he kept doing it, kept coming to church, he kept doing what he needed to do. And one day, when he was about to enter his church in the square, there's two guys stopped in the middle of their motorbike. The guy had a shoebox, carried a shoebox. It said there was a gun. He just stared at him. The guy shot at him. Nobody said a word. He just heard a loud bang, a thud, and then the bike just ran away. Nobody noticed. Everybody kept quiet. It was lucky they knew what happened in a certain way because probably some guy snitched. It's that bad. They're in Sicily. Go, if Ray was here, I could have told him some crazy stories that you should know about the mafia. That it's some crazy shit. And even today, we have I could sit here for hours to talk to you about how judges, police lieutenants, and other people who went against the mafia and had met terrible ends. You know, all these other stories that there's so many of them.
Yeah. In a way, I'm
That
kind of aware of that because, like, obviously, I'm American, and I'm well aware of the mafia influence over on in the states that they had for a time back in the
yeah,
20s and 40s and such.
and it's still going here. It's not
Hmm.
stopping. It just keeps going. So pretty sure it's also going on, still going over there, over shore.
They just
The
keep it
other
quiet.
thing,
They're not as Dang, I
same
forgot.
here.
Forgot this one guy who used to be in the mob, and he said like yeah, when they're not as like they don't like do these big massive like heists or these big operations like they used to, but they still exist to
You
some
kidding
capacity.
me? Yeah, you want to keep this thing hush hush, or else the feds will be immediately on you. It's not like back in the '60s, like Goodfellas, where they did the fucking Lufthansa heist. Everybody started killing each other because they wanted more money out of that. Mostly wanted to tie out loose ends. You know, it's always this kind of stuff. Like Goodfellas is a really good movie about this.
Yeah,